So when you're actually looking to buy property and you're doing some sort of due diligence and deal analysis on a deal, you're probably going to be going through brokers' marketing packages and their pro formas. Now, they obviously have a place in the deal analysis part, but what I found, and like most investors have found, is that a lot of the times they are missing or shortening a lot of the key expense items on the pro forma. So what I thought I would do in this video is talk about some of the key points where, I see a lot of discrepancies between reality versus broker pro formas, particularly on the expense side. So whether you're underwriting deals or looking to buy deals, I think this will be really helpful. So with that, let's get at it. What's going on, guys? My name is Lior and welcome back to my channel. Now, before I get into the meat and potatoes, super quickly, guys, if this is your first time on my channel, first of all, welcome. Second of all, make sure you smash that subscribe button for me. I'm putting out literally daily content all about multifamily, talking about underwriting, construction, deal analysis, operations, and everything in between. So if that's the kind of content you're looking for about multifamily, make sure you subscribe. So as I said in the intro, what I thought I would talk about here is talking about specific expenses that I don't think always line up with reality on brokers' marketing packages and pro formas that they put together when they're marketing a deal. Now, if this is your first time on the channel, you don't know about my investing, I invest in a lot of small and maybe smaller mid-sized properties here in Boston, typically very high price per unit. So, obviously what I'm telling you here is based on my experiences. If you're syndicating larger complexes and a smaller price per unit, you're just gonna have different thumb rules. So obviously make sure this is applicable to your specific market and the type of assets you're buying. So let's start with the most obvious, and again, I see this a lot, especially in the smaller buildings that I'm buying, is property management, right? So, first of all, a lot of these small buildings, even if they're owned by professional investors, brokers will still not put property management on there, which always still blows my mind, right? I mean, if you're gonna properly market a multifamily, and you're really gonna come up with an NOI, you've gotta have a PM line item. I'm not even talking about payroll here, right? Because most of these small stuff you don't really need payroll for, but just having a line item for PM is gonna be absolutely key. The second line item I wanted to talk about is maintenance and repair. Now, a lot of times what brokers will do is they'll kind of ask for trailing financials from the seller and just put that and slap that as your maintenance repair budget. Now, obviously, this is not necessarily gonna be indicative of what you're gonna be operating the property at, right? Because the seller could have finagled a lot of things, right? You don't know exactly how he's booking his maintenance. Maybe the seller has like an in-house contractor that he pays on salary, and maybe he only pays materials, and that's what he logs on each property's books, right? So there's a lot of different ways that owner-operators book their maintenance and repairs on their line items. Or it could just be that, a certain property for whatever reason, just the last couple of months was performing well, didn't have any indicative issues, and the maintenance repairs, the trailing maintenance repairs line item just came out really soft. So when we analyze property, what we typically do is we use our own experience in our portfolio. And at this point, we've got a big portfolio, so we know what maintenance repairs should come out to on average for specific types of units and specific types of locations, right? So for example, I know that typically for a bulk of my product here in Boston, we're usually maybe operating around $100 to $150 of maintenance repairs per unit per month, right? That's kind of a typical line item that I'm incurring. And that's usually what we run our underwriting run, right? So, when I do get my marketing packages and pro formas, I'll certainly take a look at the maintenance repairs line items from what the broker has given us, but they tend to be on the lighter side. We'll usually put in our assumptions from what we know to be true from running our portfolio in the area. The next thing I wanted to talk about in the, in the discrepancies I see is in contracts and contract services. Let's start from some of the big ones that I kind of see a lot of discrepancies with. The first one is typically pest control, right? So on the majority of our buildings, we have some sort of pest contract because, you just want it to be there preventative to make sure nothing goes wrong. A lot of these buildings, whether they're small or even the mid-sized stuff, I don't always see pest line items. And again, that's a cost that we're gonna incur because the majority of product we are putting on it, because I do think you need that in order to run a good operation. Next is gonna be the snow and landscaping. Now, obviously we're in Boston, so we're gonna have quite a bit of snow cost. And usually the snow line items from brokers or performas are pretty okay, because everyone's gonna have a similar snow cost for what it's gonna cost to do snow removal. Landscaping is going to be, again, more discretionary depending on the property. Some of our properties here in Boston kind of are on tight lots and don't have a lot of landscaping and don't have a lot of frontage, whereas others may have more. So this is just going to be more property dependent. If the property has more trees, more bushes, all that, obviously it's going to need more, a little bit more on the landscaping side. And if you're not seeing the theme here, a lot of it is going to be very much dependent on the exact property and the exact location, right? So make sure you really understand your market, what you're investing in, to really be able to plug in the best assumptions and see, if the performas and the marketing packages that you're getting from brokers lines up with what's going to be in reality. Trash is another contract service. On mid-sized multifamily here, I typically do see it being put in a line item. And again, I think that's a line item that you can kind of take as is and typically put in your underwriting unless there's something crazy going on. But a trash contract for a mid-sized multi, you're probably gonna have a similar cost with. On smaller multis, I don't see that typically. So again, make sure you understand what kind of product you're looking at. If you're on a smaller multi, maybe you have your own trash guys or your own trash maintenance. So just again, understand the differences between the different types of products you're looking at. Now, taxes, this is a big one. And this is one that I see a lot of investors not really thinking through all the way all the time. Because what a lot of people will do is take the owner's current tax bill and just slap it as their own. But what happens is, of course, when a property trades, it's going to be reassessed by the city, right? So you really have to understand how each city municipality is going to reassess the property once you buy it, right? And there's obviously a lot of tricks out there that you might have heard online, like buying the LLC and not the property, stuff like that. From what I've seen from all of our portfolio, we always get reassessed on. But what we've done is we have a base understanding of what the property is going to be reassessed at once we acquire it. We kind of have our general rules of thumb that we've seen over and over again displayed from the cities. So what I would say about taxes is make sure you understand how you're going to get reassessed, right? Don't assume the owner's current tax bill is going to be yours. It's more than likely you're going to get reassessed and get taxed at a higher bill, right? Because, especially if you're buying a property that hasn't been traded in a while, let's say, it's a property that was sold last in 2013. And let's say that owner bought it for $2 million, and then now it's 2022 or 10 years later, and you're buying it for $5 million or $6 million, whatever that number is, right? That's going to be a significantly different assessment from the city, which will definitely increase your taxes. And finally, the last line item I think that you need to consider is insurance. I think very similar argument to taxes. You cannot make the assumption that your insurance bill is going to be the same as the seller's. You don't know the backstory of how the seller is getting his insurance bill. Again, that seller may have bought that property 10 years ago and its insurance could have been X. But if you're placing brand new insurance, I think you have to talk to your own insurance agent and get the most updated numbers. This is especially true too if you've got a value add plan and there's going to be construction, right? Because you're probably going to have to take on some additional liability insurance while you're doing constructions and renovations. So I don't think it's best for you to be using the brokers or marketing packages insurance numbers. I think you need to know your own, what they're going to be, what the new numbers are going to come in at. And again, that's going to be based on your experience and talking to your people, such as your insurance agents. So those are kind of some of the line items that I go through when I'm evaluating the expense side of a marketing package or a broker forma for an acquisition. Again, I just want to make sure that I'm getting the real numbers of what it's truly going to cost me to operate the building once I buy it, rather than what it costs the seller, right? Because again, you don't know the seller's backstory, you don't know what he's funneling together, what he's not, if he's got employees, if that's being properly tallied on the books. So just make sure you're properly doing an evaluation when analyzing a broker's expense pro forma on the marketing package. So hopefully that helps, guys. Let me know if you have any questions.